In this slide, there is a comparison between the somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. You can see that in the somatic nervous system, you can have the upper motor neuron, usually in the cortex of the brain somewhere, and it goes down either in the brainstem, and that's through the cranial nerves, goes to the skeletal muscle in the face or in the neck, or it can go all the way down through the spinal cord. It synapses with the anterior horn of the spinal cord, and then leaves the spinal cord and supplies the muscles and the limbs and also the torso. Sometimes these upper motor neurons can be somewhere else. It does not have to be always in the cortex of the brain. Sometimes it can be in other parts in the brainstem, and that's at the subconscious level. So it's not shown here, all of it, but that can be a subconscious level. The autonomic nervous system is, as you know, it is subconscious, so you will not feel it most of the time. The center for the autonomic nervous system is hypothalamus. So there are neurons there that either goes to the brainstem or it goes all the way to the lateral horn of the spinal cord. So from there, then there is a motor neuron that are leaving the central nervous system. But here the difference is that there are two neurons. You can see here it was only one neuron, but here there are two neurons. So the cell body of the neurons, one of them is located in the brainstem somewhere, or it can be, the cell body can be on the lateral horn of the spinal cord. Then they leave central nervous system and they synapse in a different location outside of the CNS, and that is the ganglion. So then they synapse with another neuron. So this one that you can see, this is the myelinated one. So the cell body of the myelinated one is inside the central nervous system, and this is called the preganglionic neuron. This one, this neuron that synapse in the ganglion, this is called the ganglionic neuron, and this is unmyelinated. And this is called the ganglionic neuron, and this fiber or the axon that you see is called the postganglionic fibers. So where it goes to the smooth muscles, it goes to the glands, epithelial tissue, it goes to the cardiac, and also it goes to adipose tissue. Also it goes to the lymphatic tissue. It's not shown here, but you can add lymphatic as well. So the difference between sympathetic and parasympathetic system. So sympathetic system is the cell body again is in the central nervous system, and here the preganglionic fibers that are myelinated, they are short, they are leaving the central nervous system, and they most of the time you know, this preganglionic is short. I will show it to you. There's an exception there, but most of the time it's short. So it synapses in the ganglion with a ganglionic neuron. Then the postganglionic fibers are very long, and they go to the tissue and then stimulate the specific tissue, for example, the smooth muscle or glands. There's also some other ones that, for example, the adrenal gland that goes all the way to the adrenal gland. So in that case, the preganglionic fiber is very long, so that's one of the exceptions. And the preganglionic is long, postganglionic is short. And then when the secretion happens, this will be like endocrine, like a hormone. So that's why it says secretion. So that goes directly to the blood, and any tissue that has a receptor, it is affected by the hormones that are released from the adrenal gland. So it's a neurotransmitter, but also works as a hormone because it's transmitted through the blood to any tissue in the body. The sympathetic nervous system is the fight and flight system, that anytime there is any increase in activity, for example, you want to do any kind of physical activity, you want to you are under stress, you need more energy. So anytime you're going and doing any kind of athletic activity, you are in danger. You want to keep awake. In those kind of conditions, the sympathetic nervous system is active and is working dominantly. And the parasympathetic system is the opposite of that. So cell body is still located in the central nervous system. Then the preganglionic fiber, which is myelinated, leaves the central nervous system, but it is long. So it goes to the ganglion and synapses with another neuron. So here is another neuron. This is the ganglionic neuron, and this is the fiber. It's called the postganglionic fiber. So this is short. The postganglionic fiber is short compared with preganglionic fiber, which is very long. And this is for system of rest and digest. So it means that it is active during sleep and also during relaxation, during digestion, and also when the urinary or genital function is active, then the parasympathetic system is more dominant. So here is the sympathetic system that you can see it, the location of the cell bodies of the preganglionic neuron. So it is T1 to L2, thoracic all the way to lumbar area. So the cell bodies are there. These are the preganglionic fibers. They are myelinated and they go to 3 different locations. So majority of them are called an area that is called sympathetic chain ganglia. There is paired, that means one on each side. They are very close to the to the spinal cord, and they are called paravertebral. That's another name, paravertebral. One on each side. So from T1 to L2, the preganglionic is short. And then they go and they supply most of the body except abdominal and pelvic organs. So that's an easy way to remember it: head, neck, body wall, thoracic cavity, limbs. And so those areas are affected by this system. And then is the next one. It is that goes to 3 different ganglion and synapses there, and these are called collateral ganglions. They are located in the abdomen. They are not paired. So it means that there's only 3 of them. They are not bilateral. It's only 3 of them. And then the postganglionic fibers that are unmyelinated, they go and supply organs in abdomen and pelvis. The last one is that the preganglionic fiber is really long, and it goes to adrenal medulla. There's 2 adrenal glands, one on each side, and the synapse there, and there are specialized cells in adrenal medulla, and from there the postganglionic fiber is very, very short, and they go directly to the blood. So usually it's not counted as postganglionic because the secretions goes directly to the blood. And any organ that has a receptor for sympathetic system then become affected by the functions of the sympathetic system. So you have to have a receptor for it. Okay, so this is the different ways that these fibers are going. There are different directions. The first one is that you can see the cell body is located in the lateral horn of the spinal cord. So the fibers, these are the preganglionic fibers that are leaving through the ventral root. It goes to the spinal nerve. It goes through the white ramus of rami communicantes. This is rami communicantes. Excuse me. And then it's synapses in the sympathetic chain. So this thing that you see, this is the sympathetic chain. So there's one on each side. You can see this is paravertebral. So this is paired and bilateral near the spinal cord. So then it's synapses. This is the sympathetic chain ganglion. Now synapses with the ganglionic neuron, and this is the postganglionic fiber, and that goes through this nerve, and this nerve is called the sympathetic nerve, and that goes to the thoracic organs. So synapse here in the sympathetic chain, it goes to the thoracic organ. So this is one way. Another way that is happening is that starting from the lateral horn, it is going through the ventral root, it goes to the spinal nerve, it goes to the white ramus of rami communicantes, then it synapses in the ganglionic neuron, but here it does not go to the chest. So this is the sympathetic nerve. It doesn't go to the chest. The postganglionic fibers that are unmyelinated, they go through the gray ramus of rami communicantes, then it goes back to the spinal nerve, and then this is, you can see that there is a dorsal ramus, and this is a ventral ramus, and then it can go to different tissue that is, these tissues are located in the body walls and limbs. For example, blood vessels, the glands like sweat glands are there, adipose tissue is there, so they synapse there. As I mentioned it before, if I go back to the previous slide, you can see that it's T1 to L2. So there is nothing here in this area or below here, below L2. So, but actually fibers are going downward or they may go upward. So if I go back here, you can see in this direction. So let me explain this one. So this is the lateral horn again, the autonomic sympathetic nervous system is there, cell bodies. This is a preganglionic neuron, goes through the ventral root, spinal nerve, white ramus of rami communicantes, and once it gets to the sympathetic chain ganglion, it does not synapse. It does not synapse, so it goes up and synapses somewhere in the ganglion above, which does not have a direct connection. It does not have this one. So it does not have this one. So let me show it to you back on the previous image. So it may go somewhere around here. So I will show you this again in a different image, but just for now to understand. So it may go here or may go down, so somewhere around here. So these are the ganglions here. The fibers are coming from here. It may go down and synapses somewhere in the ganglions here, or the fibers are going from here and then may go up here, and some ganglia are here and they synapse around there. So that's why this is the image there, that it may not synapse in the same ganglion. It may go up and synapse with another one, or it may go down, which is not shown here, or it may go down and synapse with somewhere else with another ganglion. So then the postganglionic neuron, again, similar to this one that you see, it leaves and it goes through the gray ramus of rami communicantes, and then spinal nerve, and then they go to the ramus, dorsal ramus or ventral ramus. So this area that you see here, this is all this is all preganglionic neurons, and they are located between the T1 and L2. But these one that you see, this is the postganglionic unmyelinated neuron. You can see in all spinal nerves, in all of them. But these ones, the preganglionic, you only see it between T1 and L2. So that's the difference. Because the ones that does not have above T1 or below L2, then it may go up or it may go down and synapse, which I will show it to you again in a different image. So this one that you can see here again is a different location of the sympathetic chain. So here the cell bodies are located again in the lateral horn, lateral gray horn. It leaves, the fiber leaves through the ventral root. It goes to the spinal nerve. It goes to the white ramus of rami communicantes. It does not synapse here. If it was going to the chest, it would have synapsed here, and then it would have gone through this sympathetic nerve, but it's not going there. So now it's in a different location. So now it's going through this nerve. This is called a splanchnic nerve. So this is the nerve that's going in the abdomen. So it goes there in the abdomen, and now it's synapsing in a different area, and that is a ganglion. So these ganglia are called collateral ganglia. So there's only 3 of them. So it's unpaired. So these ones are paired, means bilateral, but these are unpaired. It means it's not bilateral. There's only 3 of them. So the preganglionic fiber is a little bit longer than these ones, the previous slide that I talked about it. And then it's synapses, and then the postganglionic fibers that are not myelinated, they go and supply the abdominal organs, partially the pelvic organs. So then is another option there that this is the cell bodies in the lateral horn of the spinal cord, leaves through the ventral root, it goes to the spinal nerve, then it goes to the white ramus of rami communicantes. Because it's myelinated, it does not synapse in the sympathetic chain. This is sympathetic chain again. It goes through this nerve. This is a splenic nerve, and it does not synapse anywhere there. It goes all the way. Now it passes through the collateral ganglion, which I showed you in the previous slide. It does not synapse there either. It goes all the way to the adrenal medulla. So then it synapses, and this is another specialized cells, and then they will secrete the epinephrine, norepinephrine, which is a neurotransmitters for a sympathetic nervous system. So the preganglionic is very long, and the postganglionic is very, very short. This is why this is an exception. But this will go, and the secretion goes to the blood, and it goes everywhere. So general circulation, it means it goes to the blood. So this slide, okay, there is 3 slides there. I will not read these slides for you. I will explain it in a different slide. There's a lot of information there. I highly recommend you to listen to this slide, explanation of this slide. This slide looks very complicated. This is why I have 3 slides. These 3 slides are the explanation for this image, but if you listen to this image, it makes you understand those previous 3 slides a lot easier. But if you start from this slide and read, you will have a difficulty understanding what it means. So you need that image. So you have to go back and forth as you read these things to understand it. You have to go back and forth between these 3 slides and this image. But for now, look at this image so I can explain this image. It looks very complicated, but it's not that complicated. So I always give an example. This looks like life. So life is always complicated, but to deal with a different situation, you have to break it down. So every situation you have to deal with it separately, and solve every problem separately. That makes things a lot easier than if you look at the whole life together and there's a lot of issues going on in everybody's life, then you become overwhelmed. And this slide looks like that. It is looking very overwhelmed, but in reality it is not, because once you break it down, it makes a lot of sense. And the more philosophical approach is the same thing in life, that don't look at the life as overall. You break it down in every small pieces as possible, deal with every situation differently, and you can manage your stress, and also you can manage your life a lot better. Just a word of wisdom. I don't know if it makes any sense to you or not, but just an idea. So let me start with this slide, okay? So let's look at, again, I'm dividing it in different areas, so let's look at this area first, okay? So you can see that I told you before, it is the sympathetic nervous system is between T1 and L2, right? T1 to L2. So this is the preganglionic neurons. Just making sure that it's recording. So this is the preganglionic neurons are there. So this is the cell bodies located in the lateral horn of the spinal cord. Preganglionic is myelinated. That's why it shows in red color. In reality, it's not red, but just shows there. So these are the sympathetic chain ganglia. So one on each side of the spinal cord. So this is closer to the spinal cord. These are called paired or paravertebral ganglia. So the cell body goes here and sign up somewhere here. So the preganglionic neurons are located between T1 and L2. But what about anything above T1 or anything below L2? So some of these fibers, so you can see these fibers are going from here all the way to these ganglia. So there is 3 cervical ganglia that they do not have direct connection from the spinal cord, but they are receiving, fibers from T1 to T4. Okay, so the fibers do not synapse here. Some of the fibers, they may go and synapse somewhere here, here, or here. Same idea here. So you can see from L3 all the way to coccygeal, there is no direct preganglionic fibers that are going there. They are receiving fibers from here, from T12 to L2. So some of the fibers may not synapse around this area, but instead they may go and synapse here, L2, L3, L4, S1, S2, S3, S4, something like that. So these fibers, they may go and synapse somewhere there. So this is one. Okay, the other thing is that the postganglionic. So now you have the preganglionic already there. So these are the postganglionic fibers that are leaving. These are the postganglionic fibers, right? The black ones. So where are they going? So the different locations there. So the one that you can see here is this one. And this goes to the body walls and limbs. So that can supply, for example, sweat glands, the erector pili muscles, and the hair. It may supply the blood vessels or adipose tissue. So different tissues are supplied there, and so you think that, okay, how can the visceral organs are in the body walls and limbs, but again, you have some tissues there that's not under our own control. So these fibers are going to control those areas. So this is the easy part. Okay, so now if you go to the right side, this is a little bit more complicated, but again, there's an easy way to do is to divide them. Okay, so that makes it easier. So we talked about that there are 3 cervical sympathetic chain ganglia, superior, middle, and inferior. So this is the superior one. And if you look at it, the superior ones are supplying, some of the eye muscles. If you go back to chapter 17, you will remember it. And the iris and the ciliary muscles. Also, it supplies the salivary glands. Okay. Then is for the organs in the thoracic cavity, then the fibers are coming from the superior, middle, and inferior cervical ganglia, but also some fibers are received from the thoracic area, and that supplies the thoracic organs. So these were the preganglionic, the red ones, and these are the postganglionic that goes in the face, or it may go in the thoracic cavity. Okay. So another one is the abdomen, which is a little bit complicated. So here the fibers are going there, but do not synapse here. So these fibers, see, these are all preganglionic. These synapse in these 3 ganglia, and these are the collateral ganglia. So they are located in the abdomen. The preganglionic is a little bit longer than the usual. So these are the usual ones, but the short, but here the preganglionic is longer, that goes all the way to the abdomen. So these are called splanchnic nerve. So there's 4 of them. One is greater splanchnic nerve. This is the lesser splanchnic nerve. This is the lumbar splanchnic nerve, and this is the sacral splanchnic nerve. So these 3 have preganglionic fibers, and the 4th one, the sacral one, they have the postganglionic fibers. So then from these 3 ganglia, the collateral ganglia, postganglionic fibers unmyelinated, they go and supply the abdominal organs, and here in this case in the sacral splenic nerve, it also goes and supplies urogenital organs. You can also see, look at the adrenal gland. So the adrenal gland is coming all the way from here. It does not synapse in the celiac ganglion. It passes through that. It goes all the way. So this is all preganglionic and goes to the adrenal gland medulla, and then it synapses there. So the best way to remember this slide, listen to my explanation 1 or 2 more times. Listen to this slide very well. Then you go back and read those previous 3 slides. And as you go through each slide, stop it, come back and look at this slide, and you go back. I could not put this slide on each other slide because it will be difficult to see if it is too small. So go back and forth and learn the previous 3 slides and break it down to smaller pieces. Okay, so now that the sympathetic system neurotransmitter, the most important neurotransmitter is in the sympathetic system is norepinephrine, but there's epinephrine is also there. So if there is receptors there that is responding to epinephrine, norepinephrine, these are called adrenergic. So they are located in most of the sympathetic nervous system, and the image is explaining that. So this is the preganglionic that is coming, is myelinated. This is the ganglion and synapses with the cell body of the ganglion, and also it should be dendrites here. The neurotransmitter that is released from the preganglionic fibers of the sympathetic nervous system is actually acetylcholine. And then this is the postganglionic fibers of the ganglionic neuron. It goes to the tissue and wraps around the tissue, different cells, and there contains these vesicles. These vesicles contains these smaller vesicles, and they contains neurotransmitter, which is norepinephrine in most cases. So these distensions that you see, or it looks like vesicles, these are called varicosities, which is just means distensions. So then they are released, and then it will affect the tissue. That tissue can be smooth muscle, or it can be ganglion or epithelial tissue, something like that. But this is the most common one. Okay, so the other one is the cholinergic one. In this case, is acetylcholine is released. They are located in the sweat glands, in the body walls and limbs, and also in the blood vessels of the brain and the skeletal muscle. So we are talking about the postganglionic. So these, the neurotransmitter that is in this slide is talking about the postganglionic in this area. So the acetylcholine is released in somewhere here, but a different type of tissue. And a smaller part of the sympathetic nervous system release nitric oxide, and the receptor is called Nitroxidergic receptors, and they are located in the smooth muscles of the blood vessels and the skeletal muscle in the brain, and also in genital area, especially in male penis. But that's not that common as the previous 2. So if there is a question about what is the most common neurotransmitter for the sympathetic system, is that norepinephrine. Okay, and the receptor, see, there's 2 different things. One is the neurotransmitter, one is the receptor, and the receptor is called adrenergic receptors. And again, we are talking about the tissue level here, not in this area. Okay, not the connection between the preganglionic and ganglionic. We are talking about here, the connection between the postganglionic fiber and the tissue itself.
Please consider subscribing to the channel. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you for watching.